We are at the Plimoth Plantation. Notice the Old English spelling of Plymouth. This is a recreation of the actual original Plimoth Plantation from 1627, 7 years after the Pilgrims landed at Plymouth. The actual site is now a modern city, and it's maybe 2-3 miles away, I'm guessing. So this is a highly accurate recreation of their old town. This is what some of the structures look like before we actually get to the Pilgrim settlement here. I guess they're fixing something here. You wanna?
Or within the bark, you can get some coloring from that as well.
Yeah.
Inside tree bark, also walnut oil.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
You take it, cut it down, and make a bow out of it. Take any of these animals, make something useful out of it. Make a papoose for a baby. Make clothes out of them. You alter them, things like that. So that's mainly our job, and to protect. So we lay our lives down on the line every day that we're alive on Earth for our women and children. If something were to happen, we know that that's our responsibility and our duty to do so. Just as it is theirs to garden and things like that, their job is to give life and sustain life. Right? Anything with like growing corn. The only thing that men grew was tobacco, and that's because us men, we smoked it. Women didn't smoke tobacco. Reason being.
Here.
Yeah, you go.
Vicky, can I ask you a picture of them before you go?
Yeah, ask him.
So that looks like one of their houses. They had little holes where the smoke would come out, but they put a flap at an angle so that rain could not get inside. But if it's a larger one, they would have more than one fire hole, if you will. But the larger ones would have been inland from here, and more, and then closer to the coast where they would kind of migrate back and forth. They'd probably have smaller dwellings. But this was what the Pilgrims would have encountered, meeting the Indians in these sorts of homes.
Guys, there are two.
How are you? Good.
These would be mostly deer hides, would they?
Yep. But the winter home has bear, moose, raccoon, and skunk as well.
Okay.
We have a lobster soup today with corn, garlic, onion, and sun-dried squash and pumpkin. And then in the clay pot.
Okay. There you go. That's a hard way to make tortillas. There you go, right there. She's crushing the corn there.
It goes like this.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. Let me show you, Jack.
Yeah.
Corn.
Yeah, she could probably pass for. What do you think? Yeah.
You're just mean. You're mean.
Okay, this is the fort as we ending the Plimoth Plantation. That's this fence, I guess, guarding against the local tribes.
One less thing to take away from you. All on the floor.
So this is where the firepower was, I guess. And you look down on the village here. This is where we're going. Recreation of the original Plimoth Plantation.
I mean, our house is similar. It's about 16 feet.
Let me take your picture here. Might make a good.
whole wide world end.
Sounds interesting.
Oh boy, I'll tell you, the women in Texas are so good. It's unreal.
They're good at Texas, huh?
Quick, Spain and Holland was coming to an end. Do you know that there was a peace treaty between Spain and Holland for 12 years? Are you from Holland?
Yep. Well, not directly.
Yeah, we were living at a time in the Netherlands when, from the year 1608 to 1620, when Holland and Spain were in a truce.
Which means peace.
Right. And that was ending in 1620. So we were starting to get concerned about some war drums were starting already, and then our poverty. We're very poor. And so those were the two driving forces to relieve ourselves from Holland.
So was it a good decision?
Well, it's been many trials to do this. And I have left behind in Holland meine Mutter, meine Brüder, meine Sister. And do you understand what I said? Yeah. And so
So what are your ladies' names here?
I'm good wife Annabelle.
Annabelle?
Patience Prince.
Patience Prince. Is there a Edward Doty living here someplace? Would he be at a particular...
Well, he's the servant of
right.
Master Hopkins.
Right.
So that's where I would start looking for him is the Hopkins house, which is down the lane. It's at the crossroads where the two roads meet. That's where he lives.
Thank you.
So that would be a good place to start.
Thank you. So we found out that Edward Doty is living with the Mr. Hopkins, who I guess he's an indentured servant to Mr. Hopkins.
You wouldn't film them, they asked.
I didn't mean to purposely, but...
Oh, they would ask. Thank you.
So I guess this is Dutch. Remember, they didn't come from the Netherlands, but they came by way of the Netherlands. Not all of them, but some of them.
Maybe have chickens.
These chairs are absolutely screamingly beautiful. Did you see this chair here? Did you see this one? It lifts up. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? It's a lovely chair.
Place to store things. Huh?
Yes. Oh, hello? That's it. My bed is so high. My bed is going to become a lower bed. I am going to make a lower bed. See that? They just kept the top open like that, and then they just let the fire go right.
So if you need a and you want to bring the smaller ones and the ones that increase quickly and will also eat anything. So the cattle and the sheep, you don't want to bring them to a new colony because you don't know what they can eat, and also they take up more space. And especially for the cattle, they give birth to typically one calf a year, and that's it. Whereas swine, you have at least 10, mayhaps twice a year. One will give birth twice a year, and there's 8 to 10 to a litter. So eat them, bring them and eat them. They're fine. Goats increase quickly. They eat anything. The hens and the cockerels, same thing. And then there was some toffee betwixt.
Kind of get the feel this is real, like the real thing, you know.
Both didn't agree on that?
That was a tough life.
Well, it took something to dancing, but
What are those, turnips?
Those are radishes, Jack.
Aren't those turnips?
to young men in
they're
London
radishes.
is not really
Never
working.
seen.
There are many
so
men
big.
fleeing,
Those are turnips.
not fleeing, but they're leaving the countryside and going to the cities. And so, if you're a young man, my stepson, he's now 17. If he were to go, if we were back in England and he was seeking work, what is available is incredibly difficult, and you don't receive enough money for it. So, if he wants to marry and provide for a family, it's almost impossible for him to do that there. But here, there's the opposite problem. There aren't nearly enough men, and there's plenty of work, and he can become a landowner here, which is very good for the future of his family. My stepdaughter, who's 18, she'll be married in a few years. Unfortunately, I don't really know very much about him.
Right.
We hired him in
Right.
London before we came, but we hired him and we hired another man
Okay.
with the same Christian name, Edward
Right.
Lester, before we came. But
How old is he right now?
he's in his early 20s.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. We're talking about Edward Doty.
Yeah.
Okay.
Both.
Right.
Lester doesn't work for. He only
Right.
signed for 3 years, so he's gone to Virginia now.
Okay.
But Doty, he still works for us.
So he works for you for a number of years. Is that how that works? Okay.
Yeah. That's a decision you make.
Right.
It's illegal. There's a contract.
Right.
So Master Bradford has a copy of it.
I see.
Doty has a copy of it. We have a copy of it.
And that's how he got over here.
Yeah.
'Cause I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's worked for us, and it's useful to have servants in this sort of, and well, even in England, servants are very common. But the work necessary here, especially for farming and such. So he farms, he goes fishing, he hunts, he does carpentry. He's doing all the same work as all the other men here.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Just doing a little genealogy work
Yeah,
here.
that's
so.
fine.
Okay. Thank you.
But
What was that?
Okay. So this is supposedly the house that my relative lived when he first came to the New World. He was a servant in his early 20s. Would you say Hopkins? Is that? And that's the wife right there that took her and her husband. He's like an indentured servant, if you will. So interesting, huh?
Get her full name. Usually that.
Oh, I will.
I am sure that's.
I know I can find it.
I'm sitting in one of these old chairs.
Did they have yeast to make bread like that? I wondered.
They probably did.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah. That's not what some of the kids did. I guess they played on those things.
Are you looking for someone?
Actually, I'm looking for Stephen Hopkins, I guess.
Yeah, I just
That's his wife there, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Right there.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
He's wearing the same colored suit. You and I.
Okay.
Little group of merchants. Well, there were probably 75 merchants, mostly in East London, but they'd all put in lesser amounts of money than what it would take to start the whole thing. And we were taken on as partners. It's an export company. We ship back furs and timber and salted fish sometimes.
There's a reason why they sent you here.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean it was
Profit margins.
oh yeah. Yeah, I mean it's the same in Virginia. They do so. It's although they bring tobacco out of there, which is hey, watch your step there, lads. But good day, then. How'd you do? Yeah, it has not been as successful thus far as I think the founders had hoped for, but all businesses take some time to get started. Of course. And now we've had a lot of difficulties too, which retarded things a bit, slowed it down. But you know, things are starting to even out now, I think. Did you want to sit here, man? You're welcome to.
That's fine, thank you.
Well, whatever suits you. It's, no, Master Tory here has been over here some 2 years back, you say?
Yes.
Yeah, and there's been some changes.
Some changes, yeah. I've noticed.
Yeah.
I've noticed some changes, big changes.
I suppose they are, yeah, it's been a while. Yeah. So,
well, in the beginning it's easy to have a lot of big changes, I suppose.
Oh yeah, there's more changes needed still, I mean.
Of course.
But, no, I think it's an improvement.
The settlement has grown?
Yeah. Last summer there were probably 75 or 80 fellows and women too that came over. And yeah, that pretty much doubled our numbers, really.
So the last ship that arrived had how many?
Last spring there was a ship that came with only about half dozen fellows. But among them were, well, a shipwright, although he died. And a salt maker who has not been very successful at that either. And a minister who's kind of fallen under a cloud here in the last couple of months. He tried to kill the militia captain. Yeah, and he's fortunate he wasn't hanged for that. But no, he was taken up to the northern boundary of our colony.
So what happens when he is banished? Where does he go? No, but I mean, what are some possibilities that he might have?
Only the Lord knows. I mean, there's ships that pass that he might gain passage upon, I suppose. I don't know. Or he could. I mean, there's where we took him is up, I say, the northern boundary of our colony, which is a place called Coonahasset. It's a river, maybe 30 miles or so up the coast here. There is a fishing stage just past there at Nantasco, it's called, where fishermen stop to salt their fish and all. He may gain passage on one of those ships, I don't know, but as long as he doesn't come back here.
Yeah, of course.
No, I say he was fortunate. No, he's been a good asset here. I hired him the spring before we set out for here.
I see.
And
you left from London?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, rather hired, but
right.
No, he's a Londoner. He's from up by Houndsditch, yeah, which is not far from where I was. But he was at a great to-do down here. He was at a hiring fair.
I see.
Looking for work, and I'd been over in not here, but in Virginia before, and he was greatly interested in that and the idea that I couldn't tell him precisely what sort of work he'd be doing, but I could.
So basically you went to Jamestown, then went back to England, and that's where you met him?
Oh yeah, I was 7 years living in London town, yeah.
Okay.
And this company was just being started when
I see.
I was approached about it, and that was when I reasoned out it was likely to hire another man. For at the time, my son was about 13 years had he, and I mean, he's done pretty much a man's work since being here. But
so he's a good servant.
Oh yeah. I had hired another fellow too before that, but he went off to Virginia then here last almost a year ago.
I see.
I mean, he didn't run away or anything, but it was...
I forget, I met your wife previously. What was her first name?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, thank you.
And your name is Doden?
What's that?
Is your name Doden?
No, my name is not Doty. I'd have to go back several generations, but I am related to them. Yes, right.
I don't know anything about his family. He said his parents had died when he was a youth, and I don't know, Edward's 26, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought he was 21 when I hired him. Yeah, so it's not quite 5 years, but I thought 4.5 or something.
Well, I appreciate the information.
Hey.
Thank you, sir.
No problem.
Gimmer.
That alone was worth the trip.
Right.
Is that your phone?
Not bad for beginners. Actually, take 2 paces back. All right, the rest of you even up with him. Not all of you do 2 paces. That's it. I'm just trying to straighten you out a little bit. No one should be crowded. No one should be standing behind. You should be standing just next. In this way. you know that you have comrades. Your comrades are your courage. Individual soldiers are like fingers, able to be snapped off one at a time. Soldiers standing together are like a fist. You will be trained first in how to stand, then in how to use these weapons. Then you will have an exercise where we will take that road and then come back.
It is really, I'm glad we came here. It's kind of unique. It's supposed to be Miles Standish.
So King James is a member of the Church of England.
He's the head of the Church of England, never mind a member.
So how does he look up for separatists or people?
I can explain that.
What's that?
Yeah.